Yeah, blessed noon to everyone. I I welcome us to today's edition of our learning how to learn. Uh, the last time we met, I believe somebody got something. Today, by the end of this video, you'll be able to understand why you read and you sometimes do not understand, neither do you remember. A lot of times, people who try to teach others how to learn, what they do is they give a list of things to do, and then they tell you that follow these steps, and by the time you follow these steps religiously, you will get the same answer. But if you are conversant with my explanation, you will know that I told you rather, that you cannot replicate what somebody else did because of few reasons. Number one, you do not have the same previous knowledge as they had. That's first. Secondly, you do not have the same habits as they did. Those two reasons for me, they are one of the strong, there are many, but those are the strongest reasons why I discovered that I can't just come up and tell you that this is a system I created. This is how I study. Then I will now tell you that if you follow it religiously, it is going to work. It's not going to work because you don't have the same previous knowledge as I have. Neither do you have the same studying habits as I do. On these notes, it is going to be difficult for you to practice what I am doing by replicating the same thing. But today, at the end of this video, you'll be able to learn how to read, understand, and make the most out of anything that you read. The first thing I'm going to be talking about today is metacognition. What is metacognition? Metacognition simply refers to thinking your thinking. That's just it. So you have an awareness of the state of your life. For example, now, when you consider mathematics, let's say arithmetical manipulation, where we say plus times plus, that's plus, minus times plus, minus, plus times minus, minus, minus times minus, plus. This is how to manipulate the arithmetical signs to be able to use it in calculation. Now, you must first come to a point that you must admit that you are lacking in this particular knowledge. Your refusal to even understand that there is something you don't know is a real problem for you. You know, Mark Zuckerberg said, he said one of the things that young entrepreneurs should know is you should know what you don't know. Yeah, those are one of the things that you should know. As a young entrepreneur, Mark Zuckerberg encouraged us. He said, you should be able to know what you don't know. So that is what metacognition simply is all about. I am not asking you to cram the definition, but I'm just bringing it to the fore. That the first thing that you need to know is that know what you do not know. That is metacognition. Become aware of your limitation. Become aware of your strength. Become aware of your ability. When you are able to do all of this, you get better. You know why? A chain is not stronger than its weakest link. No matter how much you want to shy away from it, a chain is not stronger than its weakest link. So once there's a weak link in the chain, you discover that in the long run, that is the point of cut for that chain in the long run. So the first thing that I want you to understand is that you become aware of the state of your life. And this is why I harped so much on the place of previous knowledge, and I discourage cramming. Why do I discourage cramming? The reason is very simple. Cramming is going to bankrupt your previous memory. For example, you want to learn, let's say you want to learn indices from mathematics. You want to learn indices, or maybe any subject from any topic that you are learning. And then you pick the topic and you cram. When you cram, what you are trying to do is that you are bringing in a large amount of information quickly into your memory so that you can just put them in your memory without understanding it, and then you can be able to pour it down, perhaps in a standardized examination. That's what cramming is all about. And you will discover that by the time you pour those information down, you can't fully remember what you read earlier on. And if you cannot remember what you read, then the problem now comes when you are going to have the next topic. Remember that the next topic is going to be built on the previous topic. That's where problem comes in. So by the time people drop a particular topic, they can't remember it again. Why? They cram. So if you want to study effectively and remember, you must, one, be aware of your ability and your inability. It is going to help you. Once you don't know your ability or you shy away from it, you perform less. That's why we have problems. You perform less. For example, now, there's a place for practice testing in learning. So if you give no room for practice testing, you'll be wasting your time. That's going to be a colossal waste of time. No matter how much you try to patch things and put things together, you can't repeatedly engage that performance. You can't. Maybe by chance you did well this time, you cannot repeat it for the next 7 times because number one, you do not have a system. Number two, you don't have an habit. And number three, you are always bankrupt of your previous knowledge. So one of the most important things that you need to know is to be aware of your limitation and your strength. And once you are aware of your limitation and your strength, then you move forward. Then you start learning. That is the best way to approach it. So you must always put that in your mind, that the place of previous knowledge can never be overemphasized. It is important that you understand how to learn better so that you don't go ahead and start cramming. I want to be sure that I am audible. I don't know. Please, is anybody there? Let me know if I am audible enough so that I can be able to continue. Let me just give it a few seconds. Am I audible enough? So another thing that is necessary, which I want to talk about today, it's Matthew effect. It is a phenomenon that was coined by a sociologist, Robert Merton. And it's put simply, I don't really like giving out definitions for you to cram. I prefer that you understand what it means. Then you can now go ahead and study on your own and you'll be able to get it better. What is Matthew effect? Matthew effect simply means more, we attract more. Less, we attract less. The rich, we get richer. While the poor become poorer. It's as simple as that. Have you ever wondered why those who are sound, maybe in a skill, maybe they are learning a tech skill, or you're a web designer or a web developer or whatsoever you are doing, maybe you're a fashion designer or you're a mason, carpentry work, whichever one that you are doing, you discover that as you continue in that work dexterously, you get better. A time will come that you can even be able to gauge a measurement with your eyes, even without using tape. And when you measure it with a tape, you discover that it will only be deficit of about few millimeters or few inches from what you measured because you are used to it. So more, we always attract more. Less, we attract less. The rich will get richer while the poor get poorer. So it is also applicable in learning. So you will discover that a lot of people who are considered to be brilliant continue to be brilliant because they started early. So there is going to be a cumulative advantage in the long run. So it's going to multiply. The effect will multiply. So the reason why the effect multiply, it is still the same thing I said earlier on. Pay attention to what you are learning now. Because if you do not pay attention, this knowledge you are getting now will become a previous knowledge. And if this knowledge is not properly learned, then you discover that the previous knowledge that you will have built will be insufficient or incorrect or none at all. That when you now move on to the next topic, you won't be able to even do better. So this is where the real problem is. So in Matthew effect simply have the effect in learning simply means that, let's say you are learning carpentry works. You get it now. So you have climbed tall buildings a lot. So you must have underwent a lot of phobias based on height. But as time goes on, you discover that you no longer fear height anymore because you have climbed a lot of buildings, taller ones, story buildings. You understand? And at the end of the day, you are used to it. So the phobia has declined or even eliminated completely. And now you can even climb the ladder or whatever you are using to elevate yourself from the ground, even while pressing your phone or even while putting on your AirPod Why? Because you are used to it. That's Matthew effect. So you get better. So people who pay attention to what they are learning now, they will build a good previous knowledge. The next topic that you are going to be learning will have a good foundation to be laid upon. Then you will get better. So as you continue what I call practiced testing, then you discover that the next knowledge you are going to be learning will add to the knowledge that you learned previously, giving you a solidified previous knowledge. And the sharper and stronger your previous knowledge, then the better you'll be able to perform. And that is what Matthew effect is all about. So there's a cumulative advantage. Also, there's also cumulative disadvantages for as many people who didn't start early doing something, or they are doing it wrongly. So if you do something wrongly using the wrong strategy, you will not get the right answer. You will not get the right result, regardless of in any venture that you are putting it into test. You will not get the right answer. So the best thing for you to do is to make sure that anything you are learning, you pay attention. Attention is key. You pay attention and you learn using the right strategy. So if it is a skill that you are learning, there's something called active learning. You must cut off distraction. Active learning simply means that you are focused on what you are learning. You engage your thinking. You can be able to make good judgments, and you have an in-depth analysis of what you are learning. So once you are doing that, you are engaging active learning. Active learning simply refers to it involves your cognitive ability. Your cognitive ability is involved in what you are learning. And anything that you learn as at that time, you will be able to perform better and you will do better. I can say it anywhere that Matthew effect contributes in every areas of life, whether in finance, whether in learning new skills, whether in academics, in any area you found yourself. Because as you do better in what you do, there's a cumulative advantage. And as you do bad, or let me say, as you perform less, you understand, there's also a cumulative disadvantage. Take, for example, somebody who wanted to learn mathematics. You cannot write in words. You cannot manipulate arithmetical signs. You understand? You cannot write Roman numerals. You can't even differentiate between half and quarter. You cannot even identify 2/3 of a shape and be able to shade it. You understand? So you discover that the person will keep on struggling. So there's going to be cumulative struggling for that person. Why? Because there's no help. And that will lead us to what I usually call MKO, more knowledgeable order. When you have a more knowledgeable order, it eases your journey. So for example, now, if you want to go and learn coding or any programming language or whatsoever, just find somebody who is already thriving in that area, submit to them and let them teach you. If you give it all the attention and the practice that is required, you do it faster. But if you want to figure it out on your own, maybe by watching YouTube or by following some virtual learning, you may learn, but the process cannot be efficient enough compared to somebody who has a physical, more knowledgeable others to guide them. It is important. There is a way that we can arrest Matthew effect. And one of the ways to arrest Matthew effect is to have reinforcement. You must have a support. Somebody who is going to guide you into what you are doing. A lot of times, people are doing the right thing the wrong way. And as long as you keep doing that, you will be overwhelmed. You will be frustrated. And at the end of the day, there will be abandonment. You will abandon what you are learning. And at the end of the day, you discover that you have not really improved on anything. So if you want to read, understand, and remember, pay attention to what you are learning. Take whatever you are learning very seriously. Because I have harped so much on this. The reason why I harp so much on this is because anything you are learning now is going to become a foundation for the next thing that you are learning. Take, for example, maybe you want to learn web development. You start with HTML. You get it now. So you move on to CSS. So if you do not learn your HTML well, when you get to CSS, you will have a problem. You understand? You must understand all of the tags, because what you left behind becomes a foundation for the next knowledge. So you are going to put the bricks of the next knowledge one after the other on the previous knowledge that you learned. That is why I insist so much on active learning, on anything you are doing currently, because it is going to become the foundation that other things you are going to learn will will be founded upon. I just hope somebody is getting this. So there's a place for more knowledgeable others. I believe in training. Somebody who is being trained will perform excellently. So if you are struggling to read, understand, and remember, find somebody who knows what you are trying to learn and learn from them. Submit to them. Let them guide you. There are strategies that make things work. And I have always said this. Let me say it again. Maybe you have met people that say, 5 steps to reading and never forgetting. 3 steps to reading and never forgetting. It may not work for you. So even if I come up with maybe 5 steps to reading and not forgetting, and I share it with you, so the onus is on you to sit down. So out of those 5 things that I'm going to tell you, then you have to sit down and then you practice any of those 5. So there is one of those 5 that is going to work better for you. Pay attention to that and pick that first. Spend some days practicing that. When you spend some days practicing that, then pick the next one. So when you pick the next one, engage more practice testing. And as you practice and test, as you test and practice, you discover that you'll be able to know what works and what does not work. That's how it works. You will know what works and what does not work. Because the previous knowledge of the person who is telling you that this 5 step is going to work, the studying habit of the person who is telling you that this 5 step is going to work, you don't have the same. And so long you do not have the same, you cannot do the same thing. This video is for students in secondary school. It's not for students in primary school. Because there are certain foundational knowledge that they need before they can understand this video. So this video is for students in secondary school, in tertiary institution. It is meant for parents. In fact, more importantly, this video is very useful for parents who have children at all levels of school, so that you'll be able to teach your children. Some of the private schools are deceiving our parents by giving results to students that they didn't work for. So how do you know your kid's performance when you yourself does not know anything? So you should be able to check that my child doesn't know this, because a child that has no previous knowledge on something that has been taught. So how will they perform on this present one? So that's going to be your key performance index. Previous knowledge is very important. If I want to check somebody, I just ask them on some things that they have learned in the past. I want to be sure that if I build anything on it, it's going to stay. So if the previous knowledge is not there, then we have to bring in some studying strategy. Very important. That is the place of the MKO, more knowledgeable others. You can't joke with what you are learning now. The reason is because it is going to become your previous knowledge. It's important. You give things attention. And you make sure that you engage active learning. When you engage active learning, it's going to help you. Because whether you are prepared for it or not, Matthew effect will always kick in. So people who are doing well in whatever they are doing, they will do more better, because there's a cumulative advantage. And people that are performing poorly, in fact, they will fall more behind. I'm telling you, you will fall behind so much that you won't even be able to catch up with people. And that's why you discover that when you are learning complex skills, or maybe complex subjects, maybe like calculus, all the stuff like that, you discover that if you does not know the derivative in calculus, you can't even go ahead to do double integration. You can't go ahead to integration by parts, because you do not even know the fundamental derivatives and how those things work. So when you get to the advanced aspect of it, you are going to encounter problem. So, in anything I explain to people, I explain so much. I spend so much time telling people that whatever you are learning now, pay attention to it, because those things is going to become a previous knowledge for other knowledge that you are going to put. You're going to put on it. For example, now maybe you went to learn fashion designing. You understand? They will teach you how to measure clothes. You will not start with clothes. They will give you pattern paper that you're going to cut. So they will teach you how those things work. Then they will now take you to the machine. You can't just take somebody who is just about to learn and you take them to the machine. They know nothing about measurement. They know nothing about how to measure the body of the client that they want to work for. Everything is thematical, one step after the other. That is the way it works. And another thing I also want to talk about that is very important if you are going to read and understand better is quality over quantity. Quality over quantity. The reason why people people do not remember is because they do not break their study into sessions. Break your study into sessions. Break your study into sessions. And anytime you are breaking your study into session, I have told us in one of the videos I made, I said I met a man, his name is Nishant Kasibatla. I think he's an Indian man, and he's a grandmaster of memory. So I've read some of his books. I've watched some of his sessions where he taught people on how to improve on memory. And he said something that is that was very profound. So he made mention of something that he called the 3 R's of memory. The first one is registration, the second one is retention, and the third one is recall. You discover that many times that people have difficulty doing anything. The reason is because the knowledge was poorly registered. Once the knowledge was poorly registered, there's nothing you can do. Once there's poor registration, there will be poor retention. And the moment there's poor retention, then you can't recall. So the process is like a chain. It is interconnected, one leading to the next. And unless people understand how all of these things work and they play out together, they may not be able to make the most out of their learning. So I suggest the principle of Mr. Kasibatla for us in your study session. Break your session into bits. I met a app. The name of that app is a Pomodoro app. It is a timer that has sessions of 25 minutes. So if you are using a laptop, you can download it as an extension on your Edge browser or on your Chrome browser. So I have it on Chrome and Edge as an extension, and I have it as an application on my phone as well. So this is the way it works. The app has 25-minute session of intense learning, focused learning, intense learning, and 5 minutes of break. So once the 5 minutes of break is over, it will allow you, then you continue another. So each session is called Pomodoro session. You understand? It is called Pomodoro session. If my memory serves me right, I think it was founded by a Russian programmer. You understand? It was founded by a Russian programmer who was trying to time himself and make sure that he has efficiency. So in that 25 minutes of Pomodoro session, you cannot allow distraction. The session must be intensive, actively and grossly engaged. You can't afford to share the attention with anything. So that 25-minute Pomodoro session is a focused session. You give it full attention, no divided attention. If you do that, you are going to have a good study session, effective one for that matter. And what do you do with the 5 minutes? The 5 minutes is not a time to rush to your WhatsApp to check WhatsApp. It's not a time to go to your Facebook and be chatting. That's not the time for that 5 minutes. So according to Mr. Nishant said, use that 5 minutes to recall what you have learned. Use that 5 minutes to recall what you have learned. Use it as a time. In fact, he call it having a checkpoint. You understand? In the course of your study, there should be a checkpoint, but checkpoint is a separate explanation on its own, because Pomodoro session has 25 minutes of intense and focused session with 5-minute break in between. So after that 5-minute break is over, then it continues. So a full Pomodoro session comprises of 4 25 minutes. So when you continue like that for the first 25 minutes and a break, another 25 minutes and a break, another 25 minutes and a break, another 25 minutes and a break. So that means you're going to have a complete cycle of a Pomodoro section. So if you try that, it's going to work for you. And during your Pomodoro section, what are the strategies that you can use? Don't forget, I told you that there is no isolated learning. You should be taking notes as you are watching this video. There is no isolated learning. Every strategy that is being explained is not in isolation to another strategy that was explained elsewhere. Take, for example, the use of mnemonics. You cannot use mnemonics in all topics. Let's say, for example, like maybe in 9 planets in geography. You understand? MVM Jason, Mary very early in the morning, join Sunday on faithful night party. Understand? So that one is a coined saying. So you can't use that in calculus. There's no way you'll be able to apply that. So every technique or strategy has a limitation. And even though it has a limitation, it depends on your own ability to make use of them. Perhaps you have not practiced something enough, so you may not be able to make the most out of them. So whatsoever strategy that you are using, you should test it and practice it. So once you have tested it and it's worked, then you can now integrate it into your learning system, because you must have a system. Like me now, if I am to study, I have developed a learning system, which I cannot just come outside and say you must follow it to the letter. I'm not saying I can't teach that system to others and you cannot replicate it. I am still working on a particular system which I believe everyone should be able to replicate, but it is not going to be a hard and fast rules. Yeah, I will ensure that by the time I'm done with that system that I'm creating, it's not going to be a hard and fast rule where you must follow it line by line. No, it is just going to be sequential, one leading to the next. I believe in when things are sequential and not just some rules that people have to follow. People forget rules. You discover, but when people understand things and how it works, then they do better. So how do you remember 100 rules? There are hundreds of strategies, you understand, that I know, but I don't use all of the 100. The ones I use is not even up to 6 or 7 out of those strategies, like Anna will. And once I have a focused session of learning, I can be able to understand what I'm learning. If it is a skill, it can take me some months, and within that short time, I can be able to have efficient learning using those things. But you can't do the same because you don't have the same habit as I do. And you may even perform more better because I don't have the same habit as you does. So that is the way it works. So even though in your learning, in your Pomodoro session, so there are various strategies, and the strategies has limitation. In another video, I'm going to talk about some of those strategies and their seeming limitation. And now you can integrate them into your learning system. If you have any problem learning, I want you to go back now and engage what I call metacognition. Metacognition simply refers to thinking your thinking, being aware of your strengths and weaknesses, knowing your own limitations and ability. That's metacognition. You are aware. It simply refers to awareness, and there's no awareness without thinking. Thinking is difficult. Henry Ford said, I cannot help somebody who cannot think. I have heard Robert Kiyosaki said the same thing. He said, if you can't think, I can't help you. You have to think. Thinking is difficult. People cannot sit down and think without distraction. Not all, but some. They can't just stay away from their mobile device. They are addicted to it. So we cannot stay 5 minutes without getting distracted. So you need to work on that. Because so long as you are distracted, divided attention cuts your focus. And I told us in one of the videos we did that a particular research was made, and they discovered that it will take you about 23 minutes and 15 seconds, you understand, to regain your full focus after you are distracted. 23 minutes, 15 seconds to regain full focus after you are distracted. So imagine you are distracted for 10 times. So that's about 230 minutes, and the seconds adding up to it. You see now, so you can't afford to share your attention with anything when you need a focused session for learning. You want to read and understand, pay attention to what you are learning now, because what you are learning now becomes your previous knowledge. I lay excessive emphasis on paying attention when you are learning anything, because what you are learning now is going to become a previous knowledge, and that is why I discourage cramming completely. So the moment you cram, you discover that you cannot remember what you have learned in the past. We are going to stop there for today. If you have any question, you can ask, and we are going to answer it.